afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, SEO Made Simple, How to Rank on Page 1 of Google. My name is Michelle Letman, and I'm the content and media producer here at Surefire Local. I'm also joined by our webinar ninja, Steve Eastlack, who is ready and excited to help answer your questions. Before we get into SEO, I wanted to tell you a little bit about how Surefire Local started and the story behind how the Surefire Local Marketing Cloud is the marketing solution that works as hard as you do. It all started with a small business owner who taught his son the value of hard work. That son, our founder and CEO, Chris, went on to lead several venture-backed Web 2.0 startups, but he never forgot the memories of watching his dad get up early in the morning to track down new business. He wondered if there was a way for 21st century technology to multiply the efforts of small local companies like his father's. Turns out there was. Surefire Local started with an idea, a way to help small businesses rank higher in search engines. Today, it's an unbeatable marketing engine backed up by expert consultants with one mission: help local businesses generate new business by getting discovered online. The Surefire Local Marketing Cloud allows you to do three things: see more, do more, and get more help. Over the years, we've had the privilege of working alongside hundreds of local companies and watching many of them double and triple their leads with Surefire Local. Some call it a digital marketing transformation, but we just call it hardworking marketing for hardworking people. Today, one lucky attendee is going to take home a Fitbit Alta. We'll be announcing the winner through email. If you don't happen to win one, though, you don't have to go home empty-handed. Everyone here today is eligible to get a Google Chromecast and our checklist on how to build the perfect website, but I will get more to that in a little bit. Today, we are joined by our very own SVP of Brand and Customer Advocacy, Bob Sheehan. Bob has a great presentation for y'all, so sit back and relax, and for now, I'm going to pass it on to Bob.
Thanks, Michelle, and thanks everybody for coming to the webinar. I'm happy to be here and happy to talk about this topic. This is something that really I like to talk about. I've been working in this business for a long time. We started this business in 2009, focused on the idea that small businesses could, leverage these activities, these SEO activities, in a way that would allow them to compete with much larger businesses on the internet. So today, the focus of the talk today is on SEO and basically how to do it right. What are the elements that add up to the correct way to do this? We really believe that this is about multiple channels. It's not a short list of things that somebody does that kind of get you there. It can be kind of complicated, but there's a lot of different things that if you can find a way to scale them and to get them done, that you really can see dramatic results in the search engines. There are a number of signals that we'll talk about as we go through this. That increase search rankings, drive conversions. Signals being the idea that if you're doing something in one place, that it impacts you somewhere else, right? That you're able to have these media that you work in talk to each other in a sense. And hopefully at the end of this, we'll have you understanding the link between your website, your location, your reputation, and how all of that drives brand awareness at the same time as moving your website north in the search engines and making you more visible. So I'll take it away from here. If anybody's got any questions, there's a chat box in the GoToWebinar. And I welcome you to put questions in there, and Steve and Michelle will stop me at any time, and we can handle questions either during the webinar or we'll wait until the very end. So when we talk search engines, that looks like what you see on the screen here. It's not just Google. There's a very good handful here, as well as there's a few hundred things that qualify as search engines that aren't even on here. The search engine category is very large, but really dominated by a couple of big players. In our world, Google is the biggest by far. Certainly you hear a lot about Bing and Yahoo, and believe it or not, the second largest search engine is YouTube. So people do a lot of searching on YouTube for content, and Google and YouTube are a perfect match in that way. They structure their properties to be able to find things. And of course, everybody's got a Facebook page, right? And everybody uses Facebook as a search engine now to find things. It's become much more of a place to find, news and information than it ever was. And for that reason, we think about it as a search engine as well. Right. When you look at the kind of how this all breaks out, you can see Google here is almost 80% of search. As of April of this year, Google is just under 80% of all search activity. that has gone from about 65 a couple of years ago up to about 80 now, with Bing in second place at 7.3. This is huge, because what this does is it drives our activity, right? When we're working on the internet and we're trying to get websites to succeed, this tells us the only thing we really need to worry about is Google, right? And everything we do to kind of make Google better, to the extent that it helps the other ones, that's great, but we would never do things in the other search engines that would negatively impact what we do in Google. We think of Google first. And I think in this case we always will, because they've got such a lead here, and they've dominated so much this idea of how to find things. As I said before, I've been in this thing since about 2009, and the internet has come a long way, even since 2009. But before that, going back to the mid 90s, search has been a big part of what happens on the internet. There's millions of websites out there, and once there got to be more than a handful of sites, it became evident that there needed to be a way to find the information that was there, that someone needed to index what was out there and give people a way to find it, or else the only way you could get to a website would be to already know where it was, what the URL was, and how to type that in. So it became evident early on that someone needed to index on keywords, and so that's what happened. Google founded themselves on the idea that somebody could type in a keyword and they would deliver a website. And so it was very simple, right? You'd have keywords on a page, and those keywords would show up in the Google index, and people would click on those words and bring them back to that website. Problem with that is once you get to hundreds of thousands of websites, it can be very difficult for Google to figure out which site belongs on the first page and which site belongs on the 50th page. And so over time, you can see this change in how search evolved, how the search engines think about search, so that they can decide which content to deliver to their visitors, right? They needed a way beyond just what's the content on the page to figure it out. In the early days, you could put your keyword on a page 50 times and it would show up number one, and everybody would click on you. Well, in somewhere in the middle of the first decade of the 2000s, it became much more of a language kind of an engine. It became about content, and it expanded beyond content into content that was off the website. So people would we became about how to expand your digital footprint, how to use web services in order to for instance publish off page, publish on other websites, or publish on press release websites, and expand the places where you did all this stuff. And that worked pretty well, and it gave the search engines ways to figure out who was doing a good job and who wasn't, and who deserved to be on page one and who wasn't. But it really wasn't enough. And up until the last couple of years, it really was about that. And then search has evolved now into a much more complex thing that involves location. So, for instance, Google wants to deliver to you. If you type in a query on Google and you're looking for a particular thing, they want to give you the best possible website that's closest to you. So they needed location signals. They need to figure out, and they needed to figure out where you were, and that matters, so that they don't show you the best possible website that happens to be in Utah if you're in Washington, D.C. So location is now a very big part of how search works. There are pieces of the search engine results page that are location based only, that really are about physically where you are. And it becomes a main part of how we build websites and how we manage websites, in order to make sure that when people search for your product, you get delivered to the people who can actually come to your place of business and transact business with you, not just the best content. So we think about it now in terms of 4 different things. Recency, meaning how often do you impact the content on your website? How often do you touch it? Relevancy, does the site match the query that the customer is looking for, right? If a customer is looking for replacement windows, for instance, we're not gonna find Google or the other search engines showing them content for eyeglasses or some other product. Proximity is really huge. How close is the viewer or the person who put in the query? How close are they to the business that Google is looking to search up or to serve up? And prominence is about rankings and how big the digital footprint is and how much, how many places can you be found? How prominent are you? And the more of that there is, the more relevant they feel like that site is. And so what happens is those 4 elements get put into a thing we call the algorithm, and at some point in something like 100th of a second, Google figures out which website should be first and second and third and puts that on the page for that visitor. In addition, there's other things that go on the page, which we'll talk about in a second. But in terms of search engine optimization, we think about those 4 things: recency, relevancy, proximity, prominence. It used to be that, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, again, it was keywords, right? You'd type in a keyword and Google would go look for the website that had a page that talked about that keyword, and if they thought had the keyword maybe on there more times than others, or had some kind of, some idea of that was the best page for that word, and they would deliver that, and that was easy. It's become much more of a multi-touch journey now. We think about it as a customer journey, and Google will tell you, based on the research that they've done, that journey includes anywhere from 12 to 14 average touches by the time a visitor comes to your store or to your place of business and transacts with you. So it's no longer about just making sure that your website is good. It's about making sure that all of these other things are considered as well. That, are you doing AdWords, for instance? Can customers find you on display ads that might be sitting next to content that they're reading, or emails, or just search, right? Are they searching for you and finding you in places that they're looking for? So there's lots of different ways that people see you, and the sum total of them seeing you in all those places adds up to a visitor to your store, or a form fill or a phone call from your website. No longer is it the simple approach behind just I want to have a page that's got the keyword more times and off to the races. It's very much different than that. So we think of search engine optimization as the process of getting traffic from organic listings, right? Natural search on search engines. And you can see that on the right with the graphic that we've created here. That's about a lot of different things, right? It's about link building. It's about good content on websites. It's about the design of the site. There's actually elements of the design that go into the search engine algorithm. Page speed, some of the technical things that go into the building of a website that cause the website to rank higher in the search engines. But all of that stuff, all of those activities add up to search engine optimization, the way we like to think about it. And ultimately, the doing of all of those things, makes you move up in the search engines and get better results. When we think about search engine optimization, we're thinking about a couple of different things. If you look at this page, this is the search engine results page for a query called handyman connection. Somebody's looking for a handyman. At the top, and this is typical of just about any query that you might put in, the first 4 positions are paid. That's where Google makes money. Google placing ads there, and customers can literally bid on those positions and place their ads at the top of the page. Google gives the first 4 positions to that, and that's not SEO. That is what we call SEM, or search engine marketing, and it is literally deciding how much you want to pay to be in one position and to be shown how often. It's a math problem. You don't need to, there's no art to that. It's strictly, deciding what you want to do. In the middle is what we call local SEO, or the maps. The maps is where the proximity signals are displayed, where you work with Google My Business, and you work with things on the website itself that will tell Google where the website exists, so that Google can then match that up with customers in that area. And that local SEO piece is something, there's a lot of kind of technique that goes into having those websites show up on that in that place, and we work pretty hard to get people there. And then at the bottom, you can see there's an organic SEO, right? Organic is the generic listings, the free listings in Google. They start below the maps and they go, depending on how people have their websites, their browsers set up, you could display either 10 organic listings or sometimes 20 or 50, depending on what your settings are. And, Google will decide in less than a second who belongs number 1, 2, 3, all the way down, and they sort that by all of those signals that we talked about and all of those activities that help Google to decide who has the best content for any given search at any given time. So what's Google looking for? Google is looking to have people click on the paid listings, right? Let's not kid ourselves. They make money when people view the paid listings. In order to get people to the paid listings, they have to make sure that the free listings are good, right? That they represent the best possible results for those customers. So when we give Google the things that they want for the website, right, that helps them to be a better search engine for their visitors and ultimately grows their business. So it's a little different way of looking at it, but we think about it like, we want to succeed in search. And when we do that, we give Google the things that they're looking for. We like to find out what makes them, how they make this decision, and then kind of give them a website that fits that criteria. And we know that to be relevant and frequent content, for instance, that we know that impacts search engine rankings pretty well. We know that mobile-friendly websites really make a difference, right? That Google has, and they've actually told us in person that mobile first is their thing, right? They believe that with the way that people use smartphones now, that mobile is everything, right? Geotagged content. We work very hard to make sure that the content that we post on behalf of customers or content about our business, or that it has some geo component to it, either in the code or in the words that we write about it, that there's a way for Google and any of the search engines to figure out where that content is in the geography, so that Google can match that up with a visitor who's close. And then, this cultivated digital footprint is really the big idea behind, how you get found on the web, is to scale a lot of these activities, to do them across and create a digital footprint that is more significant and more, kind of correctly done than your competitors. And that ends up leading to success on the internet, right? So we talked about these search signals that impact local rankings, recency. How often do you provide content both to your site and to places not on your site, right? Social media, article, publishing, anything that you do off page would also be part of that. Proximity. How close are you to the person who's looking? So what kind of geography signals can you provide to the search engines to make you found in your local market? Prominence is about, doing lots of these activities across the internet, creating a large digital footprint, and making your web properties more common, more visible in the search engines. And then relevance, obviously. If you're in the optometry business, for instance, you want to make sure that the content that's on your site is accurate and correct for the business that serves the customer that you're trying to bring to your site. So 2 types of SEO, the 2 big ways that we think about search engine optimization is maps and organic listings. So what is on-page SEO in terms of like the activities that get done? There's a lot of different ones, but the idea would be to manage all of these things on websites. So we've got meta descriptions and keywords, and we do internal linking on websites, header tags. And I'm going to show you some examples of these things in a few minutes that will help you understand what parts of the website Google's actually looking at when they're trying to decide who goes number 1, 2, 3, or 4. Right? Title tags. We think about giving information in title tags that will help Google to understand where the website is and what business it's in, so that they can, rank it higher on the search listings. And obviously, content is a very big deal. We want to make sure there's lots of good quality content, that you're an authority in your business, and that you're providing the search engine and ultimately the visitor with content that will be useful and accurate and helpful. Off-page optimization. You hear that term a lot in this business, on-page and off-page. On-page is the things you do to the website itself. Off-page, the things that you do to other places that impact the ranking of your site, right? Generally, that's about links. So if you're in social media and you post a lot of Facebook links that might come back to your website and link to blogs that are on there, that's off-page optimization. If you're creating a signal out there on Facebook, right, that you're kind of working out there, you're posting content about your site in Facebook, Google sees that. That matters, right? That's called a positive signal. But we want to increase the authority of the domain by getting links from other websites and posting content out on the internet that will eventually create a larger digital footprint for you and help that website rank. Link building, you hear a lot about link building. Link building is getting external pages to link to a page on the site. There's a lot of tactics that we use in this, but basically the idea is that a link from another website is like a vote. If that website has decided that that content is worth linking to, and because of that, more links means more people or more websites have decided that this is good content. And if they've decided that, then Google will kind of say, okay, we believe you, right? If you've got a lot of very high quality links, that indicates that that content is good and it's more likely to rank higher in the search engines. So we talk about different kinds of links, right? Everybody, if you've really looked into this and read any of the blogging that's out there in the SEO world, you'll know that edu links are very high quality. Links from educational organizations, links from government organizations are a big deal. Links from newspapers, when people write stories and they use you as a citation, that would obviously indicate that that content is very high quality. So we want to get good links, right? It's kind of evolved where it used to be about getting lots of links. Now it's about getting a few really good links, and those can really make a difference in how a website ranks and how much traffic it gets because of that ranking. Social media, we use social media platforms to promote products, services, right? These social media platforms create a piece of our digital footprint. They send signals to search engines that we're doing these activities. They send recency signals as well as relevancy signals. And you can see in the chart on the left, the diagram, this is the kind of footprint that we're trying to create that indicates that we're active on the internet, that we care about the content that we're posting. And again, if we care about it, so does Google. There's another aspect to SEO that is a little bit less accessible to your average business person, but technical SEO is the work that's done on a website that's not content. So for instance, we talk about website page speed a lot. Page speed really matters. And there are technical things that we do to websites that will help help that page speed be faster. Faster websites provide a better user experience to the people that Google brings to that site. And when they do that, Google measures that speed and that experience and uses that in its ranking algorithm to provide the user with better website experiences by ranking them higher. So we focus a lot on how easy it is for Google to understand what kind of content is on a website. We focus on how quickly the website will display that content, how reliable that whole thing is when Google finds broken links. That's not a good thing. We want to make sure that the website is clean and that it's easy to index so that Google will have trust in it, right? That it'll be considered a reliable website. So some of the other things that we do are that we think matter in the technical SEO area. Domain age is a big deal. New domains are harder to rank than domains that might be 15 years old. And that's simply because it's more trustworthy that a business has been around for a long time than one that just might have been instituted a couple of weeks ago. So domain age matters. It takes a long time to get a website to be trusted. And when you've got an old domain, it's better than a new domain simply because it's got some age to it. Crawlability, we think about crawlability a lot. How easy it is for Google to find the content that's on a site, how well organized it is, how easy it is for Google to kind of search the hierarchy of that content, right? Top line, top level content, and then more focused content as you go further into the sitemap. And performance is a big deal. Website performance. We don't want broken links. We don't want pages that take 17 seconds to download. We think a lot about image size because that slows down websites. We get in there and technically make the site fast and clean and easy for Google to work with. And when it's like that, those sites do better. It's kind of a pull-through effect, right? Where we're not doing anything specific, but we're kind of cleaning it up so that Google can think about it in a different way and trust it more. And when that happens, it does better in the search engines.
All right, thank you, Bob. So we're going to take a quick water break, and we want to ask if you would like to schedule a 15-minute intro call to the Surefire Local Marketing Cloud on either Tuesday or Thursday of next week. If either of those days do not work for you, just select please email me, and we will get in touch with you to schedule a time that works best for you. And in return for that 15-minute intro call, you will get Google Chromecast and our checklist on how to create the perfect website. So take a minute here to select either Tuesday or Thursday, or if you would like us to schedule a call with you. All right, Bob, back to you.
All right, thanks, Michelle. We'll get a little more technical here. This part of the presentation gets a little more geeky, if you will. Talks a little bit more about the kind of the back end of things, and basically around proximity and how do we tell Google where a website is. So we're going to use an example here of what we call local markup, right? Schema is the technical term for it, but we used an example of this Handyman Connection website where you might go in and see a page that's localized, right? In this case, Johnson County. So we've got a page that's dedicated to Johnson County, and somebody can type in either a zip code if they want to find a service in their area, or they can type in a service that they want. And so what happens in the back of the website is we've got this thing called Schema, and this is in this case it's called Local Business Schema, and it gives that address. And you can see the address here, 10,000 West 75th Street, Suite 220A. This is in Merriam, and I believe it's Merriam, Kansas. And so that schema, this is a piece of code that we put in the website. This tells Google where that page is and where that section of the website, what market we want that website to rank in. This is what the customer sees. This is the front end of the website, and you can see those same words over here, but they're not all code, right? They're dressed up as if they were part of the content. So what we're trying to do is to mark that content up. We wrap that content in a piece of code that pokes its head out of the weeds and says, hey, when you're in Merriam, Kansas, and you have a customer in Merriam, Kansas who's looking for these services, and these services, we're a local business, and there's other parts of the page that talk about what businesses they're in. We want this page to serve. We want to show this page to the customer, and that helps in a number of different ways. It helps in the organic listings of just simply showing that page to the visitor who happens to be in Merriam, Kansas, or in the immediate vicinity. It also helps in maps. So you can see there's handyman services, Sunnyvale, California, and the same thing's happening. You've got a list of people over here, right? A list of possible websites, and they're all ranked in order, and they all kind of focus right around Sunnyvale, California. And that's because Google went to those websites and found this, figured out where they are, cross-referenced that with what kind of content they have, and decided to put them on this page based on all those criteria that we talked about, right? You'll notice a few things on the left, right? Some of these listings have websites associated with them. Some of them don't. The ones that don't, and frankly even the ones that do, they're getting that information from a thing called Google My Business, where you can go in and tell Google, you can register your business with Google, tell them what business you're in, what categories you care about, where you're located, and all that information goes into a big hat, and it helps them to populate this page. In addition, some of these folks have websites that are linked off their Google My Business page, and that helps them show up here with websites, and you can link out of these website links here and go directly to the website for that customer. So now you're increasing your prominence, you're being found in Google My Business, and it's bringing that customer to you as a website visitor, who will then fill out a form or make a phone call. And you can see there's a couple other things going on here. There's stars, right? These star ratings come from either Google reviews that might be on their Google My Business page, or in some cases these reviews exist on other pages and Google goes out and scrapes them and brings them in here. And when they do that, you get these star ratings that make your website and your Google My Business page more prominent on the map page. So that's all good. That's why if you're working with us, or if you've ever worked with a SEO company in the past, they will tell you reviews matter, right? And reviews very much matter, as they help you be more prominent on pages like this. They also have in many cases will show the star ratings on the search engine results pages as well, and that brings them out, and the click-through rates on those pages are many times what they are for for listings that don't have the star ratings. So we think about that a lot as far as getting reviews and getting good reviews. Higher star ratings equal higher click-through rates. There are some customers that will not click on you or will not visit you if you have even one bad review. So it really does matter how well you're taking care of your customers and how well you display that in the things that you have out on the internet. The other thing that's going on is, if you see down here when you drop down on the hours, Google is now helping people to be found at the times when they're open and not showing them when they're not open. And so when you go to Google My Business, there's a place to put in your hours. Some people don't put anything in. That is not a good thing, because Google doesn't, kind of have you open when you're supposed to be open. They just kind of don't have any hours there. Whereas some people search, and you can drop down you can drop this down and look for, okay, I only want stores that are open on Sunday, or I only want stores that are open right now. And if you've filled out your Google My Business listing properly, if you've optimized it properly, then you'll get more action on things like that Google is now doing to help customers, again, find a better solution to their question, a better answer to their question at the time they need it, in the place that they need it. So we always think about, filling out all of this information, creating this accurate digital footprint that goes to as many places as possible, so that you can show up in these listings the right way, and ultimately that means you're going to get more people visiting you. So there's a thing called content SEO, which we also talk about, right? And content SEO is a little bit of that. It's a little bit like the off-page SEO that we talked about earlier, where we're thinking about relevant and frequent and considerably, a lot of content on all of these places: websites, blogs, directories, social media, and images actually are, in many ways, search engine optimization. We do things like alt image tags, which put keywords next to those images so that the search engines serve the images up when people are looking for some of these keywords. But the biggest place where you see it is blogging. We publish something like 1,200 blogs a month for our customers, and all of that content goes into their digital footprints and helps to organically grow their SEO, grow their digital footprint with relevant and frequent content. But if you're running a website, if you're running a small business and you want that website to be more prominent, content is a place where you really need to be thinking about. And if you're an expert in your business, content is the most natural place for you to be, because you know more about that topic than most. So it's easy to create a lot of good quality, relevant content. And again, the search engine results page, right? We're looking at paid search at the top. That's not really SEO, but we're looking for ways to be in the local SEO and to be in the organic area by doing all of these things that I'm talking about. And over time, you float up in this thing until you're, depending on what query you're looking at, you can be very well placed by doing all of these things. So we talked about earlier that there are several places on a website page that we think about, and all of those things become, if you will, optimizable. And so this is what it looks like on a page. And there are places in the back end of the website where these things get managed. But if you look at the top, when you go on a website page and in your browser, you'll see that title up in the top. In this case, it says Handyman Repair. And that's a keyword that's been placed into that title tag in a way that Google indexes and helps them to decide what's on that page, so that they can then serve that to the visitor. And then there's other places on the page where we're telling the search engine and the visitor what kind of services we're in. So you've got links down here. Most of those are internal links, and they go to places in the website that help the visitor find that content, right? So if I want to, find remodeling content, I've got a link there. It'll take me right to it. I don't have to look around for it. It's easy for me to find. That's important. If it's easy for me to find as a visitor, it's also easy for the search engines to find. There are different kinds of headers. There's an H1 header that really is that top header there that tells Google the predominant thing that's on the page, right? In this case, this is our services page. This is the page that tells the visitor what businesses we're in. So Google's going to put that in the index, and they may index this page and bring people to it so that they can decide beyond handyman services what sub business that they want to be in. There are images on this page, and images get indexed, and we do things in the back end of images to help the search engines decide where to index the page based on what the image says. There's content on the page, obviously. We find that pages with more content rank better. So we like these kind of short pages in some cases, but in many cases, when we get into a page that's about a specific business, we want to have authoritative content there. We want to have a lot of content so that a customer gets their question answered in the most complete way. And when that happens, and when Google decides that content is the best content that's out there, it ranks it very highly, and you get a lot of traffic to it. So we think about all of these things when we build a website page, and we try to build it in a way that it helps the customer the most to find the things that they're looking for. So when we're doing all of this work on websites, it creates the opportunity to think about what's happening, right? We want to know how much traffic is coming to the site. We want to know what kind of traffic is coming to the site. Is it working, right? Did we put the wrong content on the page, or did we put not enough content on the page? That kind of thing. So Google gives us tools to measure the impact of the things that we do, so that we can make the website better, ultimately to give that visitor a better experience when they come to it. So I'm going to show you through some of the things that Google gives us, some of the tools they give us to help us to focus these efforts. And the first one is Google Analytics, and I'm sure you've heard of Google Analytics. It's a very common approach to working on websites, and you can see we've got the ability here to look at within a different state, right? Within a state, we can judge what kind of traffic is coming from the different efforts that we do. So you can actually look at organic traffic separately from other kinds of traffic, and you can look at it year over year, so you can see whether you're up this year. Are you getting more traffic? What kind of changes did you make, right? Did you add additional content for a particular kind of business, and did that work, right? Did more organic visitors come? Did you get more engagement? Did the visitors stay for a longer period of time? In this case, on the organic traffic, these people are staying for 24% longer than they were before. That would be a win for us. We want to make sure the customers are engaging with the content, that they're staying, that it matters to them. And when that happens, those pages tend to rank better over time because they get more engagement from the customer. And then if you go a step further, there are ways to know what kind of traffic is driving leads, and we would typically find that those pages where the customer is engaging with the content more, that those generate more phone calls and they generate more form submissions as well. Location signals. Google has a thing called Search Console. It used to be called Webmaster Tools, and so we put these location signals on websites, the schema that I talked about earlier, and when we do that, Google then confirms that for us in Webmaster Tools in a way that lets us check it, right? So we can go in there and look at the page details here and the back end of that page to make sure that the thing that we put on the page in order to help Google find it actually got in the index and generated some additional prominence for us. So if we do things on the page and then we come here and we don't find them in here, then we know we've got a problem. And so we've got that kind of check and balance where Google's in a way confirming back to us that, you know, hey, I got this. It's in the index. You did it right. It's good. In some cases, there are pages in here. There are measurements in here where they'll flag errors for us. You know, hey, it looks like you tried to do it, but it didn't come out right. Right? You need to go look at it again. And when we fix those errors, Google rewards us with you know, again, better overall site health, and all of that adds up to a better page position on the website. When you really want to get deep, you can go keyword by keyword inside Search Analytics, inside Google Webmaster Tools, and you can understand by keyword how you're ranking, how much traffic, how many impressions, how many clicks, how many people are coming to your site for each individual keyword. We tend to think about this not keyword by keyword, but as the total amount of keywords, as the aggregate, because we can manage average keyword ranking. We really don't want to try to manage rankings word by word, because when we do that, the growth that we can have in one can take away from another. So what we really want to look at is, you know, overall, how many impressions how many times is the site being shown to visitors in Google? What's the average ranking across all the keywords? How many words are ranking, right? And that matters, right? And we want to grow that digital footprint. And this is a way that we can look at within the Google's tools that will help us to you know, make those decisions and figure it out. So we spend a lot of time in here. We bring this into the Google, into the Surefire Local Marketing Cloud. And when we bring this information in and put that side by side with, say, the getting of reviews or the posting of content or the social posts that we do, and we look at it all together, we can see the cause and effect of the things that we do and make adjustments. And that's the whole purpose behind creating a cloud like this, is that we can, you know, we can kind of manage it all in one place across a single date range that will give us insights into how one thing is impacting what happens in another place. So once you're doing all these things and you're thinking about them and you're in the cloud and you're looking at the relationships between everything, it's pretty easy to kind of look at this stuff and take action, right? To use this data to drive content. So very often we'll see, you know, a listing like this where we've got a lot of different words, and you can see over on the right, most of these are position 1. They're right up there and #1 ranking for this customer, and that's really, really good. And you've got, you know, lots of impressions on some of these, not so many impressions on others, but so we can look at a list like this and decide, you know, based on the words that we think are more important to us, whether we want to add more content about that word to the website, or whether we think there's another place, another business category, say, that doesn't have enough content, that we feel like if we did do more of that, we would get more impression activity or more click-through activity. So this is a way for us to use the Google tools to figure out what's working and to make adjustments in the kinds of publishing that we're doing or the kinds of social media that we're doing, and to make adjustments in that activity in order to get the kind of result that we want. So Google not only, you know, on the front end tells us what kinds of things they look for in a good website, but then they give us the, you know, here's how it's working piece on the back end using Search Console and Google Analytics. So the idea would be to build a comprehensive digital footprint. Back when we started the company in 2009, it was founded on this principle. It's really still the same, that the idea of managing the content on your website, the social activity, the directories, the reputation of that company, that doing all of those things together in a coordinated way across a high-quality website would allow you in your local market to win over competitors who had a lot more resources than you. And that hasn't changed. Since 2009, it's been the same. The tactics that we use to do that and to make that happen have changed quite a bit, but the ideas have not. And if you're a small business out there and you want to succeed, the idea would be to think about these things and to do them in a coordinated way. Keep the website clean and fast, and publish as much relevant content as frequently as you can, and make sure that your reputation and your directories are all in a good place, so that Google will trust your website. And when they do, it rises in the search engines and you get more leads. That's basically how this works.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob. That was a fantastic presentation. I want to mention again that we are asking if you would like to schedule a 15-minute intro call to the Surefire Local Marketing Cloud on either Tuesday or Thursday of next week. If either of those days do not work for you, you can select please email me, and we will get in touch with you to schedule a time that works best for you. And if you have that 15-minute call, you will get a Google Chromecast and our checklist to create an awesome website. So take a second here to select if you haven't already. Alrighty. And then now, so we are actually going to announce the winner through email, so be sure to keep an eye on your email, and we will be sending someone a Fitbit Alta. So keep an eye out there. All right, so huge thanks to Bob for joining us today, and thank you to all of our attendees. Please be sure to join us for more upcoming webinars. For details on that, you can check out our website at surefirelocal.com. We have a link at the top of our homepage for the webinars that are occurring the following week. And please take a minute to fill out the survey at the end and let us know how we did today and what topics you would like to hear about in the future. Thanks, and have a great day.